was so over the top that Sid just railed against her earlier today when I was on with him at 7:05, again, as I will be on every day this week, blowing the whistle on your elected officials who are selling you out, Democrats and Republicans, on the Sid Rosenberg and Friends show. Listen to Sid with Joanne Ariola.
There are now two different spots in your district that are going to start housing illegals, one for Tilden, and the other we find out yesterday in Howard Beach, where I dine most Friday nights, the Cross Bay Motor Inn. Can you confirm and or deny those two spots are preparing for illegals?
What I can say is that I don't think that a radio personality should take to the airwaves and put out information that's not confirmed. I haven't heard anything about any hotels in Howard Beach, especially Howard Beach, which it is. The one hotel he mentioned is run by people who live in this neighborhood and would never put migrants in their hotel. The other in Ozone Park, and there's not been any indication that they're going there.
Now, I had never mentioned the Surfside Motel as housing illegal aliens, which is family-owned, as Joanne Ariola said, in Howard Beach, right before you catch the Joe Adabo Senior Bridge, the former congressman, to Broad Channel. Never mentioned that. I mentioned only the Cross Bay Motor Inn, never mentioned her name. I mentioned the state senator who has protected the owner, who owns multiple facilities within Community Board 10, Joe Adabo Jr. Remember Sam Patel, right? I mean, never even mentioned Joanne Ariola. And notice Joe Adabo Jr. has not responded. He knows. Joe knows. Hey, Giuseppe, right? You know, I know. We've peered away the LLCs. And Joe Adabo doesn't want to jeopardize the fact that he's chairman of the gaming committee in the state Senate, who will have to determine who gets the license to run a casino. So, you know, they're whining, dining, and pocket lining him like mad. So he doesn't even want to surface. So Joanne, out of nowhere, instead of being grateful for the information, I'll follow up on this, just slammed me. Said I was a rumor monger, wouldn't even mention my name, and then Sid just went off on her.
You can say a radio personality shouldn't do it. Curtis Sliwa's been 100% right about all of it. And if I had a bet right now, despite what you just said, I'll bet on him on the Cross Bay Motor Inn too. So when you say it shouldn't be a radio personality, he's the only guy telling the truth. Because quite frankly, if we have to rely on politicians, not you, but politicians, all liars. So you can call out radio personalities all you want. He's been 100% up to this point, and my money is Howard Beach is next.
Thank you, Sid. Thanks for standing up for me and giving me cover from these endless attacks that are coming from City Hall, that are coming from Joanne Ariola and Joe Borelli. We'll get to him later on. By the way, I confronted Joanne Ariola. Yeah, let's go back in the time machine. We were at the Empire Steakhouse, and the state chairman, Langworthy, came in to try to mediate the dispute between me and her. I was running for mayor in a general election. She was running for city council, and she was screaming at me for 10 minutes, all kinds of invectives. And I said, no disrespect, Joanne Ariola, but your friend, the former GOP chairman of Queens County, the former city councilman, Eric Ulrich, actually was holding two fundraisers publicly for Donovan Richards, the Democrat who was running against you for borough president. Joanne, I was out there with you campaigning for you to become the borough president because Donovan Richards hates cops, hates white people. He's proven that again and again. And Joanne couldn't deny it. I was with her in Maspeth. I was with her in Middle Village. I was with her in Glendale. And I was talking about her on the radio. You got to vote for Joanne Ariola and not the cop hater, Donovan Richards, and the guy who hates white people, calls them all racist. And I even did TV interviews for her on the local cable access. She had to acknowledge that. I said, then why is it that Eric Ulrich at that time, the Republican city councilman, was holding fundraisers, the GOP chairman of the Queens County GOP, for Donovan Richards, who had gone on record calling white people racist and hating cops, doing everything to restrict cops. And she said in front of Langworthy, she can't deny this, the state chairman of the GOP, now congressman in Western New York. Well, Eric Ulrich is a friend. We had an understanding. Oh, an understanding. So I'm knocking myself out for you, and your friend, the city councilman, Republican of Howard Beach, the GOP chairman of Queens County, is working for the enemy, having 2 public fundraisers for the cop hater, recently calling our very dear friend of this station, Robert Holden, a Democrat, a racist because he's white, and Elizabeth Crowley, who I have no love for, who Robert Holden beat, but she's been a long-term Democrat. She barely lost to this race baiter, Donovan Richard, who hates cops. And the moment he won the victory, barely, against Elizabeth Crowley, he accused her of being a racist. And you know what, Eric Ulrich? I don't know what it is, Lou. I think Eric Ulrich and Joe Borelli, well, we know Eric Ulrich has a gambling problem because, let's face it, he owed the Bonanno crime family, tens of thousands of dollars. They had the VIG on him. He's a degenerate gambler. Remember during the lockdown and pandemic, he was tweeting out, and the idiot forgot to turn off his location finder. And when he should have been in his district in Howard Beach, dealing with constituent complaints, he was at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. That was in the newspapers. Schmuck, putz, sellout. Recently, he was the buildings commissioner for Eric Adams. That's right. The Republican was the buildings commissioner, which has always been a department filled with corruption, no matter who the mayor was. And the reason he got that job, even though he doesn't know the difference between a hammer and a bag of nails, is he raised $1 million for Eric Adams from Queens developers. And Frank Carone said, hey, now you'll be the buildings commissioner. Remember what happened? Alvin Bragg's detective stopped him outside of his house, just down the block from Sid Rosenberg, brought him into a room, took his cell phone, sweated him down, released him hours later, didn't charge him with anything, but you know the deal. He becomes a confidential informant. And any of you talking to Eric Ulrich, who's now in the business of selling insurance, he's wired up like a Christmas tree. Alvin Bragg wants revenge on Republicans. So if you're stupid enough to be talking to Eric Ulrich, either in person, he's probably wearing a wire, or definitely on his cell phone, guess who's listening, Alvin Bragg? And who admitted calling him up and talking to him every week? Councilman Joe Borelli from Staten Island. We'll get to him later on.